In this video, I'm going to go into a little bit more depth about how to use the Spectra S2, since this is the one covered by most insurance companies. I did mention that both pumps work the same, so if you do have an S1, it's going to be the same. We're going to go into the setup and how to put together your parts and some of the functionality on this pump. So by the end of the video, you should be able to be up and running with your Spectra breast pump. Many people find that the Spectra pump is more comfortable than other pumps on the market. They find that they get more milk out due to the different way that the Spectra sucks. It's kind of a three-phase suck that's like, it kind of vacillates instead of more of a mechanical in and out that other pumps have. And it does have more buttons, which can be tricky to figure out in the beginning, but it's definitely more customizable to each person's individual needs. So that's some of the good feedback that I've heard about the Spectra, and we're going to go into some of those functions and setup during this video. Okay, so here is the Spectra 2, and here you can see some of the parts that your pump is going to come with. It's going to come with your tubing, your flanges, some bottles, and your backflow protectors, which are going to prevent milk from flowing back into your tubes and into the pump. So when you're setting up your pieces, the backflow protector comes in 3 pieces, so you're going to want to make sure that you clip this one right onto the back. It only goes on one way, so you can't mess this up. Click this into place, and then you're going to put on your tubing. So the tubing will not fit on this way, so it will be very easy to know which way you're going to need to put it on. So you're going to put it on the smaller side of the backflow protector, and then your flange is going to connect right to the other side of this. The suction valve on the Spectra is a duckbill valve. So when you are not pumping, it should be closed like this. That's what causes the suction, and it will open like this when it is pumping. It should open and close. If you find that your valve is kind of at baseline, just staying open like this, and you know it's time to replace your valve. Hello! You can also buy replacement valves, such as this one, from websites like Maymom, also available on Amazon. You may need to replace these about every 3 months. So this is going to pop onto your flange, like this, and you're going to screw the bottle over the duckbill, and we're going to connect our other backflow protector, and we're going to connect our tubing. So I'm going to set up the other one on the other side. I'm going to show you real quick. With the Spectra, you can either do both sides of pumping at the same time or one side at a time. So for single side pumping, you're going to put this little cap over one of the suction valves, and you're going to connect the other end of the tubing here. For double-sided pumping, we would go ahead and remove that cap and pop both of these tubes onto the pump. So for setup, that's all you need to know. You do want to wash your parts after each use, and you also want to sterilize your parts once a day. You can either sterilize by putting the parts other than the soft squishy ones into the dishwasher, or you can also use some microwave sterilization bags like these ones. Alright, so now that we have walked through how to set up your parts, we are going to look at some of the functions of the pump itself. So since this is the S2, we're going to go ahead and plug it in, and you're going to find on the right side of your pump where to plug in your electrical cord. We are going to go ahead and turn this on. Also important to note, this is a really cool feature of the Spectra. There is a backlight. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it because it's pretty bright right now, but if you hit this button right here, oh, there we go. There are actually two settings, so if you hit it again, it gets a little bit brighter, and hit it one more time and it goes off. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that on because it looks cool, and we are going to turn on the pump. So the power button is right here in the middle. You're going to go ahead and turn that on. And I'm going to let you just listen for a second so you can hear kind of at the highest setting what this pump sounds like. So it's a nice quiet pump. Almost makes a relaxing sound, in fact. Something to note about the Spectra is that when you turn it on, it is always going to start at the last setting that you had it on. So make sure that if you can remember to turn it down to a lower setting when you're done pumping, because you usually want to start out pumping at a lower setting, and most people end up turning it up towards the end of a pumping session. If you don't remember, that's okay, but another thing to remember about the Spectra is that it is a pump that has two-phase expression technology, and what that means is that the cycles are meant to mimic your baby's suck. So it should start out in what we call a letdown or a stimulation phase. You want to start out in the letdown phase when you're pumping, and then switch it over to a stronger expression phase once the milk starts flowing. The Spectra, of note, however, does start in reverse, so you actually have to hit this wave-like button right here to switch into the letdown phase, and then I would go ahead and put your flanges on. This phase automatically is set to a cycle of 70. So you can't change that, but what you can change is the vacuum. So you want to start at a low vacuum, and then you can increase this as tolerated, and you can play around with this to figure out what works best for you for stimulating your milk letdown. After about 2 minutes, or once you start to see the milk start flowing, then you're going to go ahead and hit this wave-like button again to go back into that expression phase, the pulling phase that's going to help pull out more of the milk. You can probably hear that that changed, and it's now pulling stronger. The cycles is something that you can play around with. I usually recommend a cycle of about 54, but really play around with this, and it might be different for you each day, but you can figure out which cycle. There we're at 46, 42, 38. Those are kind of the cycle options. You can figure out what works best for your body, and over here you can adjust how strong the suction or the vacuum is. So I would recommend starting low. The vacuum goes as low as 1, and it goes all the way up to a vacuum of 12. Guys, this vacuum is really strong, and just because you turn up the suction really high doesn't mean you're going to get more milk, especially if this is causing you pain. Pain does not equal good milk letdown and good flow. So you want to make sure that this is not hurting you. Just set it up to a level that is comfortable. The Spectra comes with 2 flange sizes. I'm not sure if you can see that, but the Spectra comes with a 24mm and a 28mm. That refers to the diameter of the inside of the flange. You can also order smaller or larger sizes if you feel like these ones aren't working for you. Having a properly fitting flange is really important, and what you do want to see is that your nipple moves freely in this tube, and it might pull in a little bit of your areola, but you don't want to see a lot of your areola getting pulled up into the flange, and you also don't want to see your nipple pushed up right on the side like that. because that A doesn't allow good milk flow and B is going to cause you pain. Pumping shouldn't hurt. Remember, you wouldn't push through the pain with baby latching, and you don't want to push through pain with pumping. So just to show you what I meant about the pump going back into the same setting that you left it at, right now we're at a cycle of 38 and a vacuum of 8. If we turn this off, the next time I turn it on, it's still going to be at that cycle of 38 and the vacuum of 8. Remember that the Spectra starts in the expression phase, which is a little bit confusing to people. You don't know how many moms I've heard from that say that they've been pumping backwards the whole time, and they learn several months into their journey that this pump actually starts in expression phase. But to start your pumping, you want to hit this wave-like button and go into the letdown phase with the cycle of 70 and adjust your vacuum as needed. After 2 minutes, you want to hit the wave-like button again once the milk starts flowing to go into the expression phase. One more thing to note is that if the milk starts to slow down, or the flow of the milk starts to slow down after the first 7 or 8 minutes, you can always hit this button again to induce another letdown. Once you see the milk start to flow a little bit faster again, go back to your expression phase. A lot of people wonder if what their pump is doing looks correct. So this is what your pump should be doing. Not sure if you can see that. Yeah, just like that. One other thing I forgot to mention is that you do not want to wash the tubing. Because the Spectra has this backflow protector, milk is not going to be going into your tubes, and trust me guys, when you get water into these tubes, it can be so hard to dry them out, and you may end up to start seeing black mold form on the inside of the tubes because of the moisture that gets into there. So don't wash your tubes. It's not necessary to wash the tubes. Everything else you want to wash after each use. I hope that this video is helpful for you to figure out how to use your Spectra to remember the same functionality as the Spectra 1. The only difference is the Spectra 1 has the battery. So if you like this video or know anyone else who is either trying to figure out how to use their Spectra or considering buying a Spectra, feel free to share our videos with them. I would also love to have you join the community, so if you want to go ahead and subscribe down below and hit the bell so you don't miss a single video. I post new lactation videos each week and would love to have you join the conversation happening in the community. Also, if you have any more questions that I didn't answer in this video about your Spectra pump, go ahead and comment in the section down below. I read all your comments and will do my best to get back to you with a helpful answer. If you missed the video on the differences between the S1 and S2, check out this short little video that I made last week with the subtle differences between the two pumps. And if you need more help on pumping tips and tricks, you can also watch this video that I have about exclusive pumping. It's very useful for anyone who is pumping. And thanks for stopping by. I can't wait to see you next time.